Lockdown is such a pejorative word. So many negative connotations, so many bad associations. Brings up images of lost time, lost companionship, with hours on end sitting alone in the basement. This is my story of what I did with part of my time during my first year in lockdown 2020. 1 year in my basement, or in other words, what I did with my first year in lockdown. During the COVID epidemic, I've spent more than 12 months living in my basement. I used some of my time to pursue a photographic project I started in 2015. The project involves photographing the aircraft that overfly our property. In further pursuit of this project, I designed and built the world's first microprocessor-controlled crown graphic camera. These images show the completed project. The what I did. The goal was to allow for autonomous 4x5 shutter openings and closings. I designed an interface for a crown graphic shutter. I learned to program in C++. I learned electronic design. I built and tested a device. After all, I had a year in my basement with nothing better to do. The why. In pursuit of the long-term photographic project, my goal was to use my large format cameras to photograph aircraft that overfly our property. This involves long exposures on a single sheet of film, typically 2 to 4 hours. Celestial mechanics often dictates that the shutter must be open or closed between 1 to 4 a.m. When I get out of bed, when I can have a microprocessor do the work for me. Below are seen results of this project. The two photos on the right were captured with a DSLR camera. The middle photo was captured with a 35mm film camera using Trax film exposed on ISO 6400. The left photo is a preliminary photo captured with a 4x5 camera. In the image, the inset is enlarged area from the right upper area of film and demonstrates numerous aircraft tracks. I would not have been able to complete this project without my friend Michael, who is a kind, helpful person, the eternal Boy Scout. My plan A was to use a small solenoid from eBay to depress the cable release plunger. I was concerned, however, that the force of the solenoid could possibly damage either the cable release or the shutter mechanism itself. Quick consultation with Michael confirmed these fears. So plan B was to use either a servo motor or a stepper motor to depress the plunger. However, because neither Michael or I had any experience with stepper or servo motors, this required some background research. While I was researching stepper and servo motors, I had an insight that led to Plan C. Plan C. My epiphany was that most older crown graphic cameras already have a solenoid built in as part of the original flash sync system. So why not use the older solenoid? The last time someone used one of these solenoids was probably in the 1960s. However, like everything else we do, we first had to do some background research. You can learn a lot from background research, like originally these solenoids were originally powered by a 45-volt battery. It proved difficult to connect to the solenoid. In the end, I simply soldered wires onto the old connectors. In this slide, I'm testing the solenoid release mechanism. Originally, these used a 45-volt battery to activate the solenoid. Although you can still buy these batteries, my plan was to use a 12-volt battery that powered the other systems to also activate the solenoid. We had to recharacterize the time and voltage requirements for the solenoid release. As seen in the inset, there are two sets of leads attached to the solenoid. One set delivers the voltage and the other set monitors the voltage. These images demonstrate the first full test of the system, where the controller ran off the battery. The controller is programmed to open a shutter at 12 noon and close it at 4 p.m. The test went off flawlessly. Arduino microcontrollers, like all microcontrollers, can only execute one thread of code at a time. The code loaded into the microcontroller loops in infinity. Because of this, we had to create two programs to operate the controller. The first program loads the times, and the second program opens and closes the shutter based on the times loaded by the first program. Arduino microcontrollers lack an internal clock. Because there's no internal clock, we had to use an external clock. Seen here is the first use of the system. The next images are from single sheets of 4x5 film with 4-hour exposures from various nights.